Today's episode of Horribly Off Topic is brought to you by the Internet. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Welcome to the show. I'm glad you enjoyed our new sponsor. That's obviously not a fake thing.
That's not a fake thing at all. The whole internet decided to sponsor us, which means we don't either one of us have to work.
Yeah, so you can throw away your Patreon account.
I know, yeah, like ever again. I don't have to write like the stuff that I've been thinking about writing for popularity. I can just get back to
Stuff?
stuff to just babbling like I'm doing right now.
Okay, the guy that did that little
Yeah.
musical interlude.
Mm-hmm.
I last week I was talking about seeing a band and then the person that opened for them.
Yeah.
I went to see like probably 2010, 2011, something like that.
Yeah.
I went to see the Dead Milkmen. If you've never seen the Dead Milkmen,
Bitch and Camaro, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and Punk Rock Girl and all that
Yes.
stuff.
Yes. I was like trying to think of what the other one was that I know.
If you ever get a chance to see the Dead Milkmen, by and large take it because seeing them was probably one of the better shows I've ever been to in my entire life. I really enjoy their music.
Yeah. Well, it seems like just from I think I only have one album that has those two songs on it, but from that, that they would just be a good show. So it's good to know that their music doesn't lie.
Yes, and there was they had a couple of openers. They had but the first opener was this guy who went by JP Incorporated, and I guess before then it was Plesiosaur. Yeah.
Plesiosaur, nice.
But so he was a man. He was dressed in a very nice gray suit.
Mm-hmm.
He had a gray wig and gray beard on.
Yeah.
And he was standing next to a video screen, and it was no other people except for him and the video screen.
Yeah.
So we play a video, with the first one of which was called Jazzbot Extreme.
Jazzbot Extreme.
So basically,
He's a Transformers fan we're talking about here.
well, yeah, he's just saying, oh well, I'm starting this new television network, and these are all my new show ideas, and then he plays them on the screen, and he sings along with them, and this is his act.
Yeah.
And it's pretty great.
I was just feigning ignorance there for a second for the sake of the listeners.
We did talk about Jazzbot Extreme, and I showed you it.
But you shode it to me beforehand. And
breaking down those fourth walls.
Breaking them down. Lots of people like to break down walls. That's their MO, and our MO is to break down the fourth wall.
Yeah,
which is usually the wall most people leave alone. And I think really, I just got to say, to the people out there who like to break down walls, the fourth wall is a pretty important wall to break down.
Especially. For those of you who don't know what the fourth wall is, typically it's the quote-unquote camera. But in this case, because we're doing an audio podcast, it's technically the microphone.
The microphone. We don't want to break this microphone.
Yeah, because we need it to actually record. Sure. I have another microphone, but I don't think we can hook it up into the thing, and it's omnidirectional as opposed to several directional of this one.
We like our little microphone, which is
and also if you get a chance to see JP Incorporated, if he's opening for some band that you like.
It sounds like that would be a thing to say. Yeah.
He toured with Neil Hamburger for a bit, I guess.
Yeah, which is another interesting name. Not a band or act I'm familiar with. But then again, I'm old and lame.
Yeah, well, the Neil Hamburger and the Dead Milkmen are Actually, the Dead Milkmen are before our time because they were big in like the mid '80s.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and that's when they had like their most mainstream quote unquote success was like I think 89, 90 maybe was when Punk Rock Girl came out, and that was like their only.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It was their
That
only
sounds right.
hit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, but bitching. You know, the funny thing is that I knew Punk Rock Girl for years, but did not realize who it was by. But I
it was
knew
King Missile.
No,
A lot of people thought that the Milkmen did.
did Detachable Penis?
Yeah, but they were wrong. It was in fact King
King
Missile.
Missile. I was gonna say, but I knew Bitch and Chimera, and I knew Bitch and Chimera was Dead Milkmen. So that was the one I knew them for, mostly because of John, not my brother, but Martin.
Martin. Okay.
Yeah.
There was that when they played Bitch and Camaro live. I mean, the beginning of the song is those two guys talking about going down to
Say,
the shore.
Jack, what's happening?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm bound down to the shore. Yeah, so like they have a conversation back and forth, and so when they do the show live, it's more improv.
Oh, that
so
would
basically
be fun.
It makes it more fun because it's not the exact same thing. I mean, they have the basic ideas still there of the conversation, and then occasionally they'll throw some weird stuff in.
Yeah. Well, if you didn't at least have the basic, I don't. Maybe it's just because I'm shitty at improv. But if you didn't have at least the basic ideas, I would worry that you would go on for like 20 minutes.
They did. It was like, and it was.
Well, them going on for 20 minutes is more entertaining than me going on for 20 minutes.
Yes, but it was pretty cool. And then the last time I saw them, which was I think 2012, it was on 420. Dude.
Dude. Did they start at 420 on 420?
No, it was later in the. And I actually ran into a girl I went to college with at the show. Mm-hmm. It was weird because like I had known her,
right?
But I was never really close to her. We never really hung out.
Yeah.
And then I saw her at the show, and we were like, "Oh, let's hang out." And she was friends with the people that were opening for them that time. What the hell? The band is Rebuilder, so check them out. They're a local punk rock band.
Rebuilder?
Yes.
Okay.
I gave them a free plug.
You know what?
That's a good free plug.
I'm going to write down Rebuilder so that I remember, and we'll link it in the show notes.
Don't forget JP Incorporated.
Well, yes, that I've got too. But Rebuilders, sometimes I listen back and I have a hard time understanding you. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I do slur a lot.
No, I just wanted to make sure that I got the right name of the band so that I write it. And it's easier for me to write it down, and I'll get their link, and we'll put it in the show notes, which are at clarkwoods.com/hot/17.
Yeah.
We're like, remember to do all this stuff right up front.
Yeah, we got emails.
So the first email has to do with our T-shirt.
Hey, wait! I'm not done.
Okay.
I'm not done with the. All so right. Yeah, we hung out for a bit. And it was cool. Like it was like, hey, I knew you a long time ago, but never really knew you.
Yeah.
In the biblical sense. Yeah. And still don't.
Yeah. There are very few people I know in the biblical sense.
Well, that's good.
Well, yes and no.
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, the ultimate goal. I mean,
is to just know one person in the biblical sense. I mean, if you really wanted to be biblical about it.
Yeah, but sometimes quote or God doesn't really have that plan for you.
That's true. Sorry. So you hung out.
Yeah, and then it was neat, and then I think we hung out a couple times after that. And friends now on the Twitters and whatnot.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, that's neat. Yeah, it was like the show was really cool. But like at the end of the show, they were playing "Life Is Shit," which is one of their songs. It's not someone else's song; it's theirs.
No. Or maybe you meant to clarify there that they weren't playing a game called "Life Is Shit," which is the game that all the rest of us are playing.
Yes. So yeah, they're playing the song "Life Is Shit." The Dead Milkmen are.
Yeah.
And like halfway through the song, they just decide we're not playing the song anymore, and they decided to play, I think it was Aerosmith's Dream On in its entirety because they were in Boston. Well, actually, they were in Cambridge, but they were in Boston-ish.
Yeah.
And then finished playing that entire song, and then pick up the song Life Is Shit where they left off and finish playing that song, which was fucking exceptional.
You know that Joe Perry's first wife, I think her name is Alyssa. But other than that, I don't remember any details. She was interviewed for the Aerosmith autobiography way back in the day, and she said that "Dream On" was her bathroom song. So she would go to the every time the band decided to start playing "Dream On," she'd go to the bathroom, and to this day, or to that day, whenever that book came out, she, like, if she hears "Dream On," she has to pee.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Like compulsively, because
it's just that it was like Pavlov's dog or something.
Well, it probably provided a certain amount of time to whiz or whatever.
Yeah, it is a slow song.
Yeah, and then I remember back in college when I would do my radio show.
Yeah.
I would always play Disco Inferno.
Every
show, like that would probably about midway.
Are you breaking down a fourth wall right there? Like, did you ever tell people back in the day that that's
probably.
when you would pee?
There's no way that, like, I play a song every week.
That's my.
It's a good chance that it's on there because I'm taking a leak. So I'd play that, and then I would go out and I'd have a pee, and then I'd go outside, have a cigarette, and come back with about 2 minutes left of the song. I'd fade it out and be like, "Welcome back to Simulated Itch Relief. I'm drunk." Yes, I probably was.
only pretending some of the time.
Yeah.
We should tell people that, like, we aren't sponsored by the internet as much as we were joking about being sponsored by the internet, and we really do need your money.
Yeah, so sponsor us.
Or, like, see, I was thinking I can very easily drop in a link into the show notes where people can give us money through that link. Just to start off with, I could do that. I mean, I've been looking at, like, how we would get sponsors and stuff, and then I just got too busy this week.
It's fine. We'll worry about it after the holidays.
Yeah. Well, they could if we had T-shirts, they could get us.
Oh yes,
they could get us.
Good segue.
Good segue.
And to email one.
Yeah, I mean, if we had T-shirts, they could buy T-shirts, and that's one way that I've heard that podcasts make some money. And speaking of T-shirts.
So yeah, I had suggested, I think when you first brought up the idea of T-shirts, was two dicks talking to each other, or two penises talking to each other.
Yes.
And one of our emailers, Matt
said, "I like the idea of talking penises, mainly because one would have to do a cockadoodle in order to make it, right? See how I brought that back?" Yes, we would have to do a cockadoodle.
I don't know
if... I don't think I could wear a shirt with two penises on it.
Yeah, I don't think so either, and I don't think any of our listeners could either.
Which would kind of detract from the point of...
I mean, people would buy the shirt and be like, okay, but I can't wear this anywhere. I have a shirt that I think my mom bought me a long time ago, and it has a map of the United States, and... it says "shitty" everywhere on the map, where it's supposed to be like the weather. It says today's weather.
It's shitty.
And then there's shitty everywhere. And then it's like, adjectives describing what kind of shitty it is.
I had a shirt back in high school that I wore once. And I happened to wear it on a day that I was visiting the dean's office. And he told me never to wear it again. I actually think it was Mydell going to go back. I think Mydell was my dean at that point. And the shirt was... something about censorship sucks. I
was it SUX too?
No, it was not. I was not that cool. You knew me back.
Do you wear that T-shirt? Speaking of T-shirts, do you wear that T-shirt to class, or you?
I have worn the it's on the syllabus shirt. In fact, funny thing.
You say it's in the syllabus.
It's in the syllabus. One of my students wore the same message on her shirt the other day, and I was kind of like, you don't speak in class a lot, but you're doing all right. So, like, I was trying to figure out, like, what was her motivation as a student.
She wanted to connect with you. She wanted to be like Sting, and young teacher, the subject,
of schoolgirl fantasy.
Yeah. So be careful of that one.
Be careful. I've been told to be careful of that one by a couple of friends who are professors.
Really? So I was totally on the mark.
It's never happened to me, but I've been told to be aware that it could happen.
If I was a college professor, it'd be happening left and right.
So yeah, Matt likes the idea of talking penises. That's so far our only vote.
We need a better idea than that.
We need a better idea.
So Matt or other people that email us, give us better ideas for T-shirts, so we could actually put something on a shirt that we could actually sell.
Do you have any other T-shirts you've had over the years that you couldn't wear?
I have one that I used to wear to the airport,
Okay.
Did I tell you about this one
Well,
before?
I'm just the fact that you have one that you couldn't wear, but you wear it to the airport.
No,
I'm
well,
amused
yeah.
by.
So basically, I used to have this. My mom's ex-boyfriend had a job at United Airlines. So I had a United Airlines like baggage claim service. It was like ramp service or something on it, and so I would wear that, and I'd also wear a T-shirt underneath that said, "If assholes could fly, this place would be an airport."
So that appropriate to wear in an airport.
And so I would get if this is pre 9/11, I'm getting dirty looks at the airport. I could have sworn I told this story before.
I don't know. I don't remember it.
Maybe like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Laugh again.
Laugh again. I had one in college that read "fuck you, you fucking fuck."
That seems very like there's a lot.
But
of
I was in
hard Fs
college,
there.
so I wore it.
Did you flip your professors the Birdman?
Speaking
of Birdman, I want to see that movie.
That yes, I agree.
I just totally took you off track.
I agree that you want, but this is horribly off topic with Chris and Steve.
Drink. I'm not. All right, you Foley artist. What does it say?
We have another email, and it's from Brian.
Well, no, let's do the other one first.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. We've got two emails from Brian. Brian sent us a link. Speaking of, I forget when we talked about it, but he said, "Oh, and this article reminded me of your show." And the link is titled "When Porn and Virtual Reality Collide."
And apparently the idea or the scientific idea of having sex with a machine or whatever is called dildonics.
Teledildonics. Teledildonics.
That's great.
It is. And I think I was looking at this article this morning. I think the conclusion, though, is that you should stick with your straight up 2D porn for now and not worry about the interactive porn because it's more trouble than it's worth. That was this came from Gizmodo, and that's kind of their conclusion was, this stuff isn't worth it right now.
Yeah,
you can't
in the
get
future.
very good quality because the cameras aren't there to record the things, and even if you do sort of hook it up with,
they have that Oculus thing now.
Well, that's what it was. It was like people were trying to use Oculus, but to get it to record data the way that you'd need it for Oculus, you were downgrading the video quality or something.
Yeah, you're not getting good bang. And also,
you're not getting the good bang for your buck. Is that where you're going?
Yeah, basically. You made a joke.
You made a joke. You were about to make a joke, decided it wasn't a good enough joke to make, and then I made it, which is appropriate.
No, wait.
No, okay.
So yeah, basically, Brian also gave me the business because he was just like. Talking about my political, well, not just like the thing I was yelling about Obama.
Yeah.
And I was just like, basically my argument is that facts don't belong necessarily in talk radio. So there you go.
Facts don't belong in talk radio.
Listen to, all the people on the current radio, listen to those guys. But, whatever.
Yeah, no.
He made some good points. But yeah, I don't really want to go into it because that would make the show less funny. But I agree with you, Brian. You do make some good points about politics and that I was sort of wrong, and so I'm sorry. That's my apology to the listeners. I'm sort of wrong, but I still have a general idea of blah blah blah. Go on to his email.
This is the second one.
Hooray!
Subject comics.
Yes,
from Brian. I had a longer email I was going to send you guys, but then Steve had to go and talk about politics, and I spent over a week trying to correct him until I decided to scrap the whole thing.
Yeah, so because it's something that almost took him a week to try to get an email together, then it's not worth bringing up on the air.
Right, yeah. So here's some things on comic book collections. Comics value and collections value is such a fascinating topic. I collected basketball cards in the early 90s and sold them in 1997 for $20. Ugh,
what a bargain.
That sounds terrible. In 2007, I looked at the Beckett guide for the basketball cards I sold and found they were worth all of $20 to $30.
So, yeah.
Adjusting for inflation, I think I won in the deal.
Yeah, so that's cool. So, But no, not really, but because he's probably spent a significant amount more
a lot,
to get them in the first place.
this is related to the ridiculous speculators market that the 1990s was for collections, which I think was spurred by the selling of high-profile baseball cards from the 50s and 60s. I would tend to believe that. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember
that in comic books from that era, like the
yes.
golden and silver age comic books.
Yes, and that's I mean, so like, and it's still today to some extent in comic book stores. You will see on the walls the not so much golden age stuff, but silver age stuff, sort of up there, hanging up as things you could buy if you had the money. And
I don't even know, like, what would you consider like the age we were collecting comics? It wasn't the Bronze Age. It was definitely
it was the modern age, really. I mean, and I kind of think everything post
80s.
Yeah, post like 85, 86, there was one year where like Watchmen, Dark Knight Returns, and all that stuff came out, and I feel like post that is just modern age. And there's probably some that would say even prior to that was modern age.
A lot of more mass market stuff, like from the I'd say even like as early as maybe the late 70s. There was a lot of mass market comics, like a significant amount.
I mean, once you start getting, the thing is, like, I think baseball cards.
Baseball cards in the mid '80s are worthless.
Yeah,
like I have like I think a collection of like the Red Sox '86 team, from the World Series team, and like none of those cards are worth anything unless they were signed by the Red Sox.
Former coworker has a site called 83 Fleer. Anyway, he was trying to get his entire 1983 Fleer baseball card set signed. And he was doing it over the years, sending the cards off to various places to get them signed. So, I mean, I think there was a period prior to these sorts of explosions where things weren't as, what was Brian's term for it? The speculators market. But the other thing I was going to say is that I feel like I saw baseball card stores far earlier than I saw comic book stores. And then baseball card stores started to become also comic book stores. Yeah, and I wonder if that was part of.
Well, they were basically hobby stores or like nerdy hobby stores.
Yeah.
So like baseball cards, and then in turn comic books, and then in turn Magic cards. Now, I mean like for the past 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, not 30.
Early 90s.
Well, my 20-year high school reunion is coming up.
Okay, so 20 years.
20. You could go somewhere between 20 and 25. I mean, they were out. I don't know if they were out my freshman year, but they were definitely around by like sophomore year or something like that.
Yeah, so like some Magic cards still hold on to their value. Yeah. Like I still have some that I'd like to get rid of. Hey, if you're out there and you want to grab a couple Magic sets, then give me an email.
I think I owe our friend Rob my Magic cards. I think I did that sort of deal where I went on Facebook and I was like, hey, who wants my Magic cards? And the first person to respond was Rob. So if you're listening, and I know he occasionally likes these posts on Facebook, I haven't forgotten that I owe you my Magic card.
So yeah, and his wife listens to this show. And
does she?
Well, she was.
So maybe I need to tell her if you don't want Rob to have the Magic cards, tell me.
Yeah, they have 2 children now, so yeah, maybe he doesn't have any the same not room having that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I don't have that many of them.
Okay.
I never collected as much as everyone else. At any rate, I was just trying to get to the point of saying, like, I'm really interested in how that market happened, and I think a lot of it was, I don't know. Let's see if Brian has anything else to say about it
before we put our 2 cents in.
Because then he'll have to write us the same message next week to correct everything we got wrong.
Listen, you morons.
Okay, but to get back to comic book collections in the 90s, this is Brian again, which I remember being like, buy all 10 covers and you may be rich in the future. Totally remember that. Yep. Totally fell victim to that. I worked for a comic book store where essentially I didn't make any money because I was paid in comics and I was paid in the in the like 10 covers of, still to this day,
Spider-Man.
No, I didn't start working there until it's like not only was there the speculators market, but it was like the mid to the tail end of the speculators market of like now not only are the things you're buying multiple copies of worthless, but they're not even good. Like some of the stuff early in that market, the Spider-Man, like Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man, maybe people don't like Todd McFarlane, but that was actually a decent book.
Yeah.
Rob Liefeld's X-Force is all right. Jim Lee's X-Men, it was all right. But then all those guys left for Image Comics around the time that I started working at the store, and you started getting things like the Executioner song. Are you aware of the Executioner song?
It rings a bell.
So the Executioner song was like a summer crossover for all of the X-Men and X-Factor and X-Force books. But this is after all the good artists have left, after most of the good writers have left, and they were polybagged with a trading card in them. And the idea was, and this is what everyone was doing in my circle at the time, you bought 2 copies to sell later, right? That you kept in the bag, and you bought 1 copy that you opened.
So you could read it.
What?
2? I only bought 2.
I have, to this day, I have the version that I opened, and then I have 2 sets of that entire crossover, which are worth nothing. They're not even worth the trouble it would take to throw them in my fucking fireplace, because it would smell like
burning plastic.
I cannot.
You could have taken them out of the bag if you're going to burn them.
I cannot even believe how much money I spent on this stuff.
Yeah, but it's not like it being a kid. I mean, like, you always have like a get rich quick screen. At least people like of our economic.
When I went to comic book store in college, you were rattling off like magic cards and baseball cards and all that stuff.
Yeah.
By the time I got to the comic book store that I visited in college, which was in Haverhill, they had Beanie Babies in the store. That was and that became, I think, why some of these comic book stores aren't around anymore, because they just catered.
Babies?
Because they catered to whatever collector craze came along, just to bring people in.
Like Wheeze. Back in 2007, that was basically the Beanie Babies were the I think it was a 97, 98 were like the hot Christmas item.
Yes.
And then like it was like Tickle Me Elmo.
Yes.
Didn't I tell a joke last week? I don't know.
Oh God,
I can't remember.
I've heard you tell a joke about that.
Okay, I don't need to tell it again.
Anyway, all right. So Brian said, "Buy all 10 covers, and you may be rich in the future." Which is, he doesn't say that. He's referring to that.
Yeah, that idea.
Which is what caused the bottom falling out of the comic industry, which I guess has recovered, but never is going to sell as much as it did in the 90s. Which brings me to my next point. I sold all of my comic books except for 1 long box this past year and got a whopping $200 of store credit.
Nice.
That is nearly every comic book I bought from 2006 to 2014, and I really think I won in this deal because mass-produced comics aren't worth anything anymore. Part of that, I was having this conversation with someone who said, "Oh, sell all your books." I was like, "Well, I have a Marvel Unlimited subscription." Now, Marvel Unlimited does not have every comic Marvel has ever published, but it's getting close.
That's pretty cool.
They are digitizing all of their backlog, and you can get all of the new titles 6 months after they're released. So if you don't care about being like completely up to date, you can wait the 6 months, which I can.
And if you don't care about having anybody sponsor your podcast, you can give advertisements out for free.
Anyway, so that's part of it too, is that like people can go online and get back issues. So why would they go shell out all this money for these paper copies? At any rate, now that being said, sometimes there are supply and demand issues that drive up the value of comics. For example, when the Sinestro Corps War first started, most shops underordered the books, and so Green Lantern books started being worth something, although not much. And all of this reminds me of the Beanie Baby collections and this article in particular.
Yeah.
I'll have to link that up. Anyway, I find collections an interesting topic, and I could write a lot more, but I'll stop there for now.
Hooray! Thanks, Bri.
Thank you, Brian.
Put the notes back out so we can.
Yes. Well, yes. I'm going to keep all these.
No, I'm just saying.
Oh, so yeah. So, yeah, I have like 7 or 8 long boxes worth of comics.
I only have that Ninja Turtle thing full of comics, and I bet you that box is worth more than the comics that are in it.
It's so sad. Like, and nowadays they charge you so much for an individual issue. Most individual issues cost you $4.
Yeah, I remember I actually went online to see what the values of my and most of them have retained their cover price.
Yeah,
but that's about it. Some of them are worth less
than their cover price. Yeah,
and but a majority of them, except for maybe Spawn 1 through 4,
yeah, those might be worth something.
But yeah, they're not worth a significant amount. They're worth like 10, 15,
Yeah.
as opposed to the like $2 or $3 it was when I got them in the first place.
Yeah, no, and
Wow, I mean that's a significant amount, like, percentage wise.
sure,
but not the millions of dollars that I thought
we all thought they were going to be worth. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean we were dopes to think that anyways, because why would like things that there are millions of
ever be worth? Yeah, I mean the reason that say Amazing Spider-Man #1 or Action Comics with Superman, I don't know if that was #1 or what it was, but the reason those things are worth tons of money if you can find an extant like surviving copy is that like most of our grandfathers or whatever, like they roll them up, they put them in their back pocket,
and they took them to the park, and they had friends, and they would slap it over each.
I mean it's a magazine. You read it, and then you like. Does people keep copies of Entertainment Weekly around? Like no. Do people have copies of the newspaper from around that time?
Yes,
not a ton.
But the thing is, even the newspaper, it was way more widely distributed,
right.
than say a comic book was.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, yeah, we were idiots for thinking that something that you could that you or I as teenagers could buy 3 copies of was ever going to be worth like. Yeah. Why am I going to buy?
Because it'll make us money someday. Don't worry about it. Well, it ended up being a wash, and we're fine. We're still okay.
Yeah,
it's not like we dumped like $1 billion.
I have this huge section of my office at home where it's filled with comics, and I don't know what to do with them. Like some of them, I think I'll go back and read someday. But you could
just like put a big thing up on like Craigslist or eBay or something like that, and just say all of them. How much do you think they're worth? Yeah. And just you have to take the time and list every single one of them.
I don't know.
Which is an effort and a half.
Yeah.
And then people will be like, okay, I'll pay X amount for those, and then hopefully it'll be someone on Craigslist nearby, so you can just be like, here's my stuff. Don't stab me or shoot me.
Yeah.
Take my money.
Yeah. I mean, because somebody, I think around the same time I put up the does anyone want my Magic cards, there were a bunch of people who I said, does anyone want my comics? And there were people who were like, oh, I could use them for art supplies and stuff. It's like, so you're gonna cut up the things? And I'm like, that feels weird to me. But
the thing, Magic cards, they're still somewhat practical because people still play.
Still play, yeah.
I mean, I haven't in a couple of years, but I occasionally play, and I have a deck that is no longer quote unquote standard, and I'm going to get a little nerdy on.
Well, see, I was just going to ask you about that because I feel like part of the reason mine wouldn't be worth anything or because I collected so long ago.
Well, there's different ways you can play the game. You can play like I forget what it is, but like the playing with old cards, Legacy. That's what it's called. I think.
Yeah.
You could play a legacy deck, but typically those are all pretty much the same, and they're worth like thousands of dollars, basically put together. And then there are certain cards that are banned from the original sets because they're way too overpowered, and they're like, yeah, you can't use that because that fucking no, come on. And some of them are limited. You can only have one in your deck because normally you could only have 4 of each card in your deck.
Yep.
Except for land. But yeah, then there's modern, which is probably goes back, I don't know, maybe 5 years in the history of the card production. So you can have like a decent amount of cards to pick from a well, or draw from a well. Yeah, if I'm going to make that analogy, don't just pick things out of a well.
Well, if you're Mr. Fantastic and you've got extra stretchy arms, you can just reach down there and pluck it out. And
then there's blah blah blah. There's standard, which is basically I think the last 2 expansion sets, so expansion blocks. So basically that's like 3 of each. Yeah. And then like the current years.
Okay.
Whatever, I think it's 2015 now is what they're on.
So the idea is you've got to, I imagine does Wizards of the Coast set, or are there individual organizations that set what those things are? Do you know?
Well, wait a minute. TSI? I don't know.
TSR?
Well, let me see. DSI.
The reason I asked is just, obviously it would be in the best interest of the company that's producing the cards to make everyone stay up to date. as opposed to letting them play from cards that they've had for
yeah.
forever.
I mean so that's why like they probably created standards so people would constantly have to buy the new set,
buy new sets,
and then so basically I played my deck is technically legal for modern, but it's definitely not for standard.
Yeah, no, mine is. I haven't bought a pack or a card in 15 years, maybe. Yeah.
It's fun. Like if you ever want to go back and do it sometime, like
I've sat at the holidays when brother John when brother John is home. And watched people play, maybe even seen you play.
Yeah, I probably did.
And tried to keep up with everything that was going on, and my brain couldn't.
The trick or the fun thing to do now, and it takes sort of the money out of the game, because even nowadays, like a really good deck can cost you a lot of money on standard.
Yeah.
Because certain cards are very valuable. Like even if you want 4 of them in your deck, it's going to cost you like maybe a couple $100 to get just those 4 cards in the deck.
Yeah.
Unless you magically pulled all 4 of them.
Yeah.
Magic. So what they do, a lot of people do, is draft. Okay. Which is basically you each have 3 packs and you pass them around the room, and then you take a card from the pack. You keep on doing like you would do a football draft.
Gotcha.
And and you basically make a deck with all the cards that you drafted, and it's an added level of skill.
Right. Yeah.
To construct a deck on the fly.
Yeah, that sounds neat.
And it also it's something you can just do and just play the game.
Yeah. So you don't have to worry.
Fun.
Yeah. Which is the point.
We were talking about comic books.
We were talking about comics,
and it's no secret that I'm a bit of a One Piece fan.
Yeah,
and that is a comic of the Japanese variety.
Yes,
it's been going on since '97 in the printed work, and an animated version since '99. I think they just had their 15th anniversary of the anime, and so it's going strong. And a lot of times, this is the bad segue here.
There's a segue.
Yeah, like each of the members of because it's about pirates, and each of the members of the crew went right when they're about to join or whatever. They usually have a flashback. To basically an origin story of why they are the way they are.
Yep.
And I just wanted to talk about origin stories. Because, the main character, I'm not giving too much away because it's the first chapter. So, spoiler alert for the first chapter of One Piece.
Yeah.
But, the main charter is a guy named Monkey D. Luffy. Luffy is his first name. It's a Japanese name.
Monkey D. Luffy.
Backwards.
Gotcha.
So, he's a little boy, and he idolizes these pirates that are coming to his little town.
Yeah.
And they're, a whole bunch of hullabaloo, and then he eats this devil fruit thing, which is basically turns him into Mr. Fantastic.
Okay.
That you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
He becomes like a rubber man, and he has stretchy arms and whatnot. And then, there's a big to-do where the pirates he idolized save his life, and then he's like, I'm going to be the king of the pirates, and then the guy that he idolizes gives him a straw hat and says, come and give me this hat back when you are a strong pirate, and then we'll meet again someday.
Nice.
That starts off, this is his origin story, and it basically wraps up all the things you really need to know of what is his motivation to go on and do what he's doing.
Yeah. Huh. I dig it. That's a pretty good start.
Yeah. You should
What's your origin story?
I don't know. See, I had plenty of time to think about this.
Because we were going to talk about it last week.
Yeah, and I was just like, I don't know what event in my life basically shaped who I am, and there isn't one, but I'm trying to think of one. But all right, so a number of years ago, I mean, as far as my getting up in front of people on stage comedy life, my buddy Dave was getting married, and his best man Mike decided instead of to do the normal debauchery that folks do on a bachelor party,
Yes.
which I'm not going to mention.
We're not going to mention.
I'm not going to mention it.
There's a kind of debauchery that happens a lot, but yeah.
I'm not mentioning it.
Yeah.
Instead of that, he decided to have a roast, a comedy roast.
Oh, nice.
For the bachelor party, and so therefore, like, anybody could come.
Right.
It wasn't just like, excluding ladies and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So it was, equal opportunity event.
Yeah. Was it just bachelor, or was it bachelor or bachelorette? Could somebody
just,
get up and roast?
It was just a bachelor party,
Okay.
but everybody was invited. So
yeah.
And I'm sure she had a bachelorette party, but I don't know if it was as equally inclusive.
Gotcha.
But whatever, I don't think I would want to go to the bachelor party anyways.
I was just wondering whether both of them were fair game for the roast or not. That was all.
Well, yeah, I mean, I did not say anything. Well, my what I eventually wrote wasn't really like zing, like set up punchline zingers,
right?
But it was just like, okay, so I had no idea what to write, but and I knew Dave, and I know him a lot better now. Mm-hmm. But at the time, I was still more like on the have breached from being acquaintance to friend. But I was very early on in friend.
Yeah.
So it was just like, I'm like, I like Dave. He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to say about him.
Right.
And so Mike and Steve, the guys I used to do the Simulated Itch Relief podcast with, they wrote me a little something, and I was like, it wasn't bad, but it was just like, I don't know, this doesn't seem like my voice.
Yeah.
Except for they started off talking about how Dave and I had known each other for a really long time.
Yeah.
And how we basically grew up together, and I kind of I took that idea that they gave me and kind of went with what I wrote for my zingers or whatever. Basically, just started talking about how when we were little we used to suck on each other's penises in the woods and just like silly nonsense. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that event was what got me to be funny in front of a crowd like that.
Right.
Up until that point, I had never done something like that.
Yeah.
So I guess that could be technically my comedy origin story.
Yeah. You'd done radio.
Yes.
But there's nobody actually in front of you.
Yeah. I mean, I could have just gone and, like, when I trained on people's radio shows, which I don't remember. I remember, even back as far when I was going to school in North Adams. Yeah. This guy, Tim, I used to be friends with out there. Yeah, I found him on Facebook before I left.
Oh, yeah, one of those instances where
and I wanted to reach out to him because he was like an all right dude, and he used to live, I don't know, right in I won't say the exact town because you probably could find him. Yeah, but in center bumfuck Massachusetts, in the middle, literally middle of nowhere.
Center bumfuck. It's a pretty place, but you better bring some Vaseline.
Yeah, gross. You're gross.
You're gross.
So yeah, I did some radio with him prior to doing stuff at Framingham. Mm-hmm. But I know the origin story to the name of my show, which was the Simulated Itch Relief.
Had nothing to do with Vaseline.
No.
Okay.
It does have something to do with creams.
With creams.
So I was in one of my intro comm courses when I got to Framingham, and the professor was talking about advertising, and he was like, "Oh, say for instance you're watching an ad for like a cream or a salve, and then the guy's rubbing it on. He's like, oh, and he's feeling relief, and he's like, and then at the bottom of the screen it'll say some sort of disclaimer that says simulated itch relief." And I was just like, I wrote it down immediately, and I did what you do. I didn't put any explicit other words there, but I underlined it 3 times and circled it, which meant that's the name of my radio show.
That's pretty good. I can, as a professor who has said the occasional very strange thing, I can totally imagine that there are things that I have said that are in someone's notebook that are going to, or
be a band name, or
well, they've also been tweeted at times.
Oh, we did the New Sweethearts origin story.
We did talk about that. Yeah. What's the radio origin story? Like, what made you want to? I guess what made you want to do communications, or
Well, I had that idea for a long time, and it was funny. Like we talked about Rob earlier, and he was one of the people I did it with. I used to do these little radio shows on a tape recorder.
Yeah.
Like I did it with my cousin Rachel. We I think the first one we were just sitting outside in her front yard, like doing a radio show. Just whatever. I think I called it Talk Show USA.
Nice.
Seriously. I have the tapes still at my dad's house, and I tried listening to them, and I was so uncomfortable. I was just like...
as you probably should be when you're listening to something
like
you recorded that long ago.
But like, you know, I've listened to this show, and I'm like, okay, I sound like a person that sort of knows what he's talking about, although is an idiot sometimes, according to Brian. But... like back then, I was just like, "Oh, this fucking little kid needs to shut up. Why is he fucking talking so much?" And then there's even like maybe even before that, I would just put on little radio shows. Like I would just put on a tape recorder and talk about. Like I remember, like I was playing. This one I don't know when it was from, but it was definitely when I was, I think, maybe 10 years old. I was recording something, and I was recording myself playing like Super Mario 2, I think, and I was explaining like what I was doing in the game, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing like a game review. Look at this, I'm a pioneer over here. I'm like the angry video game nerd, like 20 years too early.
You have no place to distribute it yet, but you know,
I could have just gave it to kids at class and then be like, this is stupid. All I hear is you pushing buttons and playing the game. But like there was a thing that happened. I think I made it through a door, and like I had a vegetable on my head. Because normally, in Super Mario Brothers 2, you pull the vegetables out of the ground and carry them around and throw them at the enemies.
I remember.
And some of the enemies you can pick up and throw them at other enemies, as opposed to in like regular Super Mario Brothers where you just jump on things and they get smooshed, or you can, like if it's the turtle things, you can pick up their shell.
You can pick up the shell, but not the turtle itself.
So like I was like playing as Toad, the little mushroom man guy, and I had like one of the vegetables like on my head when I went through a door. Or I was, because you're not supposed to be able to go through a door when you're holding something.
Yeah, I remember.
And I think they actually used this technique in the Super Mario 2 speedrun.
Ah, okay.
Did I tell that story too?
You talked about speed runs, I think, at some point.
Okay, but there was a time it was at Mike and folks' place in Belmont. I tricked them into thinking that I was actually playing the Super Mario 2 speedrun.
Oh, but you were just playing the video?
So yeah, they were before their time, before Chromecast or whatever. Hooking up your computer to the TV was cool. They were doing it, so they're trendsetters. It was my buddy Greg just had a dedicated machine for it. Was an old tube television hooked up to the TV. It was a big one,
right?
And he so like I had YouTube and I put it up and I started playing it, and I had the NES controller, and I set everything up, and Greg was the only person who knew what I was doing, and so I had the controller, and the machine was on, and it was not flashing red or anything, and it was in fact Super Mario Brothers 2 in the machine. So like you covered all your bases. I put up the illusion and whatever, and so I started playing it. I put air quotes there, and then people start coming in the room. It was only me and Greg at the moment, when I started, and then people started coming in there. Oh, Steve's playing Super Mario Brothers 2. Let's go watch. So they come in and they just like, holy shit. What the fuck? How are you so good at this? And I'm like, I don't know. Whatever. It's nothing. And there's like a level where like there's, I think it's level 5, where you have to like basically ride these flying birds across the level, and that is the level.
Yeah, I think so. I remember that.
And basically like what the speedrunner was doing was as Luigi jumping from bird to bird instead of like waiting on the birds so you could just, so it was just like, and it's just leaping, like leap of faith, and then like leaping on these little like teeny enemies and or the birds, and then just making it all the way across in like a matter of like a couple of seconds, and then it's just, they're like, what the fuck,
how did you do that?
And then I beat the game, and then like the credits start rolling, and then the YouTube video ends and it says, what would you like to watch next? And I was just like, gotcha. And I'll never be able to do that again because I just said it on the podcast.
Yeah.
But also like the video quality has to be there,
right.
and so much so that it looks like you're actually playing.
That you're actually playing. That's funny.
So I just did a couple of origin stories, like a couple different ones for my radio
and your comedy
and comedy and
performance art. Obviously, yeah. That's a bunch of origin stories all in one. That's like a some of the
plus the origin story of how I tricked people and I'm kind of an asshole.
Well, that's what I meant when I said performance art. And that's what performance artists are. Is that
it's just assholes? did I mention it on this?
I didn't mean that. I'm sorry.
It's fine. Dave's. I keep on bringing these folks back up. Dave's wife. She does occasional performance art and she DJs occasionally. There was one time it was actually the first episode, which is lost, of the Simulated Itch Relief.
Okay.
The first episode we did was basically talked about how we went to see one of her shows, which was cool. Like there was what her installation or whatever was that she had like a tube television. Yeah. It was on top of a bookcase or small bookshelf.
Yeah.
And the drawers were open of the shelf, and then there was different kinds of things in the drawers, and then there was a video image of her on the TV. And she had used chroma key. Those that don't know what chroma key is, it's what the weatherman uses to stand in front of the weather map. And they usually it's back in our days of TV production, it used to be blue screen.
Now green screen.
Now it's more often a green screen because green is less often worn.
Right.
So basically, all you have to do is you're basically taking out that color from the video and injecting something else where that color exists.
Right.
To put it in layman's terms. And so she was doing that, and she had taken white as the color. Now she was wearing a black jumpsuit, and she was basically like behind a curtain, painting herself white. So she was just slowly appearing as she's painting herself.
Yeah.
And then like it's like the chroma key image.
Neat.
The chroma key image was like a weird like psychedelic I don't know, flashing like colorful images, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Psychedelic.
Like like a kaleidoscope or something.
Yes, kaleidoscope.
So that's basically what was showing up while she was painting herself, which is neat.
That is neat.
And so basically, people were watching on the TV, and there was skin tight, so it was a little risque.
Right.
But there was also a small hole in the curtain, so you could peek in. And I thought the voyeuristic part of it was kind of really neat because when you were looking in the hole, you would look for like a second, and then you would get embarrassed because you're basically watching someone paint themselves.
Right.
But when people would watch it on the television, as at first you didn't know what was basically happening. You just saw an arm appear. You're like, what?
Right. Yeah.
But then eventually you're just seeing someone paint themselves, and then people would stare at the screen for a very long time, and it shows
the layer of something between them and what they're seeing.
Yeah.
That is neat. Yeah, I haven't. I really was joking about performance artists.
No.
I'm assholes.
No, but I didn't get to the point yet.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
There were some assholes there.
Oh God.
And basically, that was most of what we were talking about. I mean, like Jen's things was awesome, and I liked it a lot. And I said so afterwards during the Q&A.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was this dude that was standing with his feet, like his toes, basically touching a wall. Mm-hmm. He was standing in the corner.
Yeah.
Of the room, and that was basically what he was doing.
Yeah.
And he had like his iPod going, and it was like it was playing music really loud, and it was just coming out of the head earbuds. And that was it. That was
his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
And then when everybody was like talking to him afterwards, and this guy was the epitome of a hipster douchebag.
Yeah.
He was. They were like, "What kind of music was playing out of your headphones?" And he goes, "Oh yes, it was a Shaker hymn." And I'm like, fuck you.
Oh God.
There's a reason why Shakers are gone, because
Yeah,
their shitty lifestyle basically said, let's not be anymore.
Yeah. Let's.
Like, shut up with your fucking shitty, obscure musical thing. Fuck you standing near the wall.
Right,
That,
yeah.
But then again, there could have been many people there that thought that was fantastic. And it seemed to be, and I wanted to smack the shit out of every single one of them. But, to each his own.
Yeah. I haven't seen that much performance art, but I like the idea of something that doesn't fit neatly into any categories. Like the first thing you just described, but the second thing, the guy with the earbuds,
I'm like,
that's
but the
like
thing
the
is,
worst possible.
It was just like you were like, oh, I need to do this performance art piece. I'll just do this.
Yeah,
like Jen put a lot of fucking effort into it, and
thought,
and it was neat, and it was a cool idea, and
Yeah.
there was a lot of I don't know, whatever.
Yeah,
It's just me on my soapbox again.
That's all right.
Brian's gonna call me up and say, no, Jen's idea was stupid. I'm like, no, I'm disagreeing with you this time, Brian.
Oh wow. Anyway,
so what do you have any like
an origin story? Most of mine are pretty boring.
It doesn't matter. I'll say something funny in between, hopefully.
Well, I mean, when it comes to being a writer, the first thing that I think of is this assignment in 3rd or 4th grade where we got a picture, we put it on a piece of construction paper, and then we had to write the story to the picture on the back. And somehow that is what clicked for me, because if you look at my parents had this school days book, this like spiral bound book where they kept all our memorabilia from various grades, and the front page had a picture of us in that grade, and the back page had a sort of questionnaire, and at the bottom of the questionnaire it asked you what you wanted to be. And so like first kindergarten I wanted to be a baker, and 1st grade I wanted to be, I don't remember what. By 3rd or 4th grade, whenever that assignment happened, I wanted to be an author, and yet I spelled it Auther.
Nice.
So
you wanted to be an Arthur. You wanted to be a drunk.
I did.
Oh, wait, no.
And so I wanted to be a writer that early. So as an origin story, that's not that interesting. However, when I thought as an adult that I might actually finally be any good at it was again not all that interesting. But my friend Pat Vogelpool was
Who?
Pat Vogelpool.
Do I know him?
Probably not. I met him at Bradford when I was in college. And Pat was the playwright on campus, and we did a shared evening where we each had a 1-act play, and he came up afterwards and told me that he really loved the way that I wrote dialogue, and I was like, okay,
well, you're like a regular Kevin Smith.
If the best playwright on campus, or basically the playwright on campus, tells me that I'm good at something, maybe he's right.
So that's your origin story.
I
Some
don't
dude
know.
said you were good, and then you were like, okay, I guess I'm good. I'm gonna write things now.
I don't know. I could probably. Yeah, most of mine are.
You're a writer. You could at least pump up these stories a bit.
Up these stories a bit.
Use a little artistic liberty.
A little artistic liberty. Well, let's see. So, I wanted to be.
What did your brother put in these things? Anyways, I'm kind of curious.
You know what? I don't know. I haven't looked at his.
Probably be like a ninja.
Yeah, he wanted to be a ninja.
Kick-ass kung fu master. I wouldn't be surprised if John put something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I haven't looked at his. I know I've seen the.
We'll have to during the holidays.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've seen the plastic bucket where my parents have. I think maybe we each have our own plastic tote that has some of the stuff that they've kept of ours over the years.
Not that John knows any kung fu or ninjutsu now.
Now, oh well, I don't know. And the ninja is unexpected. Right?
Oh yeah, you're right. So he might be a ninja, and we don't even know about it.
Yeah. Nobody expects the Ninja Inquisition. No. What? No, that was bad. I'm trying to think of some like better version of an origin story, but like origin of being a jackass. I don't know when that started.
It was probably
at birth.
I don't know. I don't have a Jackass origin story. I don't think.
I wanted to be a painter the semester that the nude models started coming in, and
Yeah, but
one of them decided to take pity on me and sleep with me back.
Aww.
No, I'm just kidding. That didn't happen.
That was your artistic liberty. You could have just said that, and then people would have been like, "Oh, that's great! Holy
That's
shit!"
great. Chris,
Like everybody's gonna get into nude painting now because like Chris got laid.
Chris got laid. No, Chris did not get laid.
You could have sparked interest in art just now, but you were just like, "Nope, that was bullshit."
That was bullshit. I think I have a story where that happens. The artist sleeps with somebody in the class or something.
But it was a guy model though.
Yeah, but we had a lot more guy models than we did.
I know you've talked about
that
it.
Story. Yeah,
and how many flaccid penises you've drawn.
Flaccid penises, yeah, but not enough to draw Matt's penis T-shirt.
Well, you did draw an okay penis that one time.
That one time when we had this conversation,
and it was sort of turgid.
My origin as a I can't tell that story.
Why?
Because does it veer too closely to the topic that of what people traditionally do at bachelor parties that we don't want to?
No, just leave it.
Yeah, just leave it.
Find another origin. We'll do it next week.
We'll do that some other time. I don't know. I should be better at. I had time to think about this too.
I give you 2 weeks.
Give me 2 weeks.
And I like, even though I give myself 2 weeks as well. Well, I just basically pulled them out of my ass just now.
I don't know. I mean, origins of what? I feel like I've been the same dude for so long. I can't remember how I got to be that dude.
I should think about when my origin story when I started watching anime was. Ooh, I have one.
Ooh, do we?
I do. Like, okay, so I probably talked about this before, but there was a video store in the center of Chelmsford called. It was a West Coast Video.
Yes.
And then eventually it was a franchise.
Yep.
And then they changed. They're like, we don't want to do the franchise anymore.
So they
just renamed it East Coast Video.
That's right. That is right.
Because we are on the East Coast, and it does make more sense.
Make more sense that it be East Coast than West Coast.
But then again, West Coast Video. I mean, all the movies typically are made on the West Coast, so that makes sense. So
yeah,
But that's not the point. So we used to rent movies there. It's like literally right in the center.
It was, yeah.
And it was huge. Like it was a large video store, like bigger than I think the Blockbuster that was in Westford.
Right.
Rest in peace.
Yes.
To both of these places.
And to video stores in general.
Yes, I think there might be one or two that still are around.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's very few of them.
There was one in Merrimack for way longer than I thought that it was going to survive, and now it is a karate studio.
Oh, that stinks. Your brother's probably there teaching karate, even though he lives on the West Coast, making movies.
East Coast karate
and or video games.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we were there, and there was a we were looking through the videos. I mean, this was VHS at the time.
Yeah.
And we saw this one. It was called Uratsuki Doji, or The Legend of the Overfiend. And basically, I'd seen some.
Wait a minute. Okay, go ahead.
I've seen some. I had seen Japanese animation before. I'd seen Speed Racer and some other things, but that I didn't really. That was on TV. So, but this was on like a video. So we're like, oh, cool. This is anime, well, we called it Japanimation back then, which is basically just an offensive way of saying Jap animation. So yeah, it is in fact called anime for those who don't call it Japanimation. So we're like, ooh, this is a Japanimation. So we grabbed it and we got it and we started watching it. And we're like, holy crap! It was just that was the movie basically.
The Overfiend
that started the craze in Japan of what they call hentai. I thought that's where you're going.
And
it basically the tentacle rape.
That's what I was gonna say. Was it tentacle porn?
Yes, yeah. That was the first one. and we somehow stumbled upon it
Stumbled
at,
upon
at a damn video store in Chelmsford, and it wasn't in like the porno section. They had a porno section there, and it was not there. It was in the regular part because they were probably like, oh, it's just some cartoon about the mystical beasts or whatever. Nope, it was just like lots of banging. It was censored. This version was censored. It did not show like the penetration. But
Sorry,
we watched it so many fucking times just because we were like, 14, 15 years old. We're like, holy shit, what is this? And we're like, but like, I think the reason why we liked it so much was not because of the sexuality of it, but was more because of the terrible dubbed voice acting.
Yes, that was always. I remember that being the thing because when I worked at Hot Comics, they were very much into not dubbed, but using. I think I might be getting that wrong. Subtitles? I think they preferred subtitled.
A lot of anime purists do. I mean, like One Piece, I've watched it in English, and I do recognize that the American actors do a very good job. It's just that I don't know. I got so used to the Japanese voices that like hearing them talk in my native tongue sounds weird.
Sounds weird, yeah. Well, I mean, the series that I fell in love with when I worked at the store was called Bubblegum Crisis.
I've seen that.
And when I was there, I watched the subtitled version. Actually, they might not have even had the subtitled versions. I remember watching it, and I got the story based on what they told me, and then based on watching it enough times. And then years later, I went looking for them on DVD, and the place that I found them of all places was
Hot Comics.
No, Hot Comics was long since closed at that point. But it was a video game place in the mall. Had them as like a DVD ROM set. The idea being like you could play them on your computer with extra features. And this is when like
this is a long time ago. Then
this is a long time ago, and that was the first time that I heard them with the dubbed voices, and it just sounded strange.
Well, like there was like early on there just wasn't. I mean, they were just basically just trying to fit something into, and like what was it, Viz, the company that they're kind of steering more towards putting out comic releases now. They're the one that puts out Shonen Jump every week, which has One Piece in it, and they but I back in the day I was very into Ranma. We talked about it on the first episode. But it was Ranma was one of those shows along with Cowboy Bebop, which I prefer the American actors,
right?
Because like when I started watching them, that's what I was introduced. And I
think that has a big part to do with it. Is if you heard the dubbed first, regardless of your traditional preference, I think you're gonna gravitate towards what you experienced.
Yeah, I mean, like and it's funny. It's the exact opposite. Like there was they put Ranma on Hulu a while ago, but it was just the subtitled, and I was watching it, and I'm like, it wasn't quite the same. And I ended up getting like the Blu-rays, which have the original dub on there, which is great. And like I don't know it's a bunch of Canadians that were doing it. Maybe that's why it was better. Everything's better in Canada.
Everything's better in Canada, eh? I can't remember. I don't think it was Legend of Overfiend?
Legend of the Overfiend.
I don't think it was the Legend of the Overfiend was the one that I saw at the
comics shop.
At the comic shop. They had one that they were like, you can't tell anybody that we let you see this.
Oh, because you were a kid at the time.
And I was a kid, yeah. I mean, I was a little bit. It's probably around the same time that you saw Overfiend.
Because you were a little bit older.
Yeah,
well, still are.
But they still were just like, you can't tell any. And I forget what I want to say. It had the word blue in the
title. Blue Girl.
Yes. Thank you. Well, I don't know. Do I want to think?
Yeah, that one was a lot more explicit than Overfiend.
Yeah, I forget who requested to see it. I don't think I did, but I didn't say no.
We've definitely seen that, and I remember our Japanese friend Subasa was around when we watched that one. I think it was at John's house.
Yeah.
And he was just like, "Oh my god!" It was because like he was getting all flustered. He was like, "Oh my god!"
I just remember. I can only vaguely recall what it looked like, and just being mortified by the whole thing.
But yeah, like there's There's still a couple lines from Overfiend that I will occasionally pop out with, and like only that small group will ever get, and I'm like a gift for you, you piece of shit.
Episode time.
One sniff of pussy and you lose it. And it was just like, what?
Oh God! I'm trying to think if there's like a cleaned up version of that I can use for the episode.
You could just put a star.
One sniff and you lose it.
No, we could just do a gift for you, you piece of shit. Just put a star.
A star
on
where the eye goes. Yeah.
Because people apparently will not know what you're talking about when you do that. Children that'll come across the explicit podcast.
I remember doing that on my blog back in the day. I would actually censor, because I was on GeoCities way back. That's a story for maybe I should.
That's an origin. How did you get your website on GeoCities?
God. Oh, I could probably make that story boring.
Did you have ASCII art like?
I did not have ASCII art on my original
or like
page.
Rotating GIFs or GIFs.
I did have rotating GIFs. Yeah, I won't say GIF. I'm sorry.
GIF.
Just
Choosy moms. You choose GIFs.
Choosy, yeah.